Hoosiers, it reads. Last night, we delivered on nearly $1.5 billion in property tax cuts. Nearly every homeowner, farmer, and business owner benefits from tax cuts, reforms, and stronger taxpayer protections. And Governor Braun, writing that, puts out a list of taxpayer wins. If you follow him on the Twitter X, on the Twitix, at GovBraun, B-R-A-U-N, you will see it there. He continued, this is historic property tax relief. Senate Bill 1 cuts property taxes for most Hoosier homeowners, farmers, and businesses, limits future tax hikes, and makes the tax system fairer, more transparent, and easier to understand. But it did that after a lot of negotiation that seems to change the original plan that was put out for tax relief. Tony Katz, good to be with you. Governor Mike Braun joins us right now, the governor of the state of Indiana. I want to discuss the property taxes with you, and we're going to get there. But I want to start with this event that you're doing today, talking about making Indiana healthy again. You're bringing out Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You're bringing out Dr. Mehmet Oz, who I'm assuming has some good old Oprah swag for you, from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. What is this announcement that's coming with the Secretary and the doctor?
So, Tony, that is one of the benefits of, I guess, the 6 years that I spent there and was there while the Trump administration was trying to take on healthcare issues. And, of course, most of those executive orders got immediately taken to the courts by big hospitals and insurance companies and a lot of what I call establishment healthcare. And I've always been interested in it. And without going into any detail, took it on 17 years ago in my own business when sick and tired of hearing how lucky I was. My insurance was only going up 5 to 10%. Rebuilt the system around becoming the insurance company as a cost center, and then completely redirected it towards wellness and prevention and getting my own employees engaged as healthcare consumers. To me, that's what I see RFK and Dr. Oz and the approach of the Trump administration. The reason they're coming in is because of all the work I put in as a senator, culminating in getting a guy like Bernie Sanders to sponsor a bill with me on transparency and competition to change the structure of it. But until we get underneath the structure and start getting people to manage their own well-being, we're not going to really get far ahead. We'll still be trying to remediate expensively stuff that we can prevent.
Well, I'm not a guy who disagrees, Governor. Allow me to interrupt. I'm not a guy who disagrees that people should be in charge of their own health care. But certainly Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s history is not about that. It's much more about a collective approach. But his attack point and the reason people like him in this position is because of removing food dyes and talking about healthier foods and things like that. Is that what he's coming to talk about in Indiana? Or is this about some new approach that Indiana is going to take to health care as a whole?
We're going to talk about the stuff they're wanting to do, all of which mirrors stuff I'm interested in. When it comes to the quality of our food, which much of it's highly processed, much of it has stuff in it we do not want in it, we got to change it. So I'm in sync with him on that. And then I also use it as a platform to talk about reform throughout the healthcare system that is expensive remediation for the lack of some of the things that he's talking about, I'm talking about on the wellness and prevention side. So it blends in well with what I've always understood healthcare to be, more prevention and wellness than expensive remediation. And he's going to be talking about where they're coming from through the administration, which dovetails with what I want to do here in Indiana. So it's a win-win in that respect.
Are you looking to make changes, talking to the governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, are you looking to make changes via executive order, or are you asking the General Assembly to engage legislation regarding a healthier Indiana?
Obviously, legislation, when we get to the next topic here in a moment, you can see how difficult that is and what the margin to spare can be. So I'll put executive orders out there, Tony, to set the stage for what I think is important, and then obviously try to get it in legislation so it doesn't dissipate by the time the next governor comes around, just like I'll try to do with how I reorganize state government into a cabinet system. That could easily flex back to something that wasn't responsive, not agile, not looking at doing things that need to be done because it was structured poorly. So, yes, EOs first, if necessary, and then legislation, ideally, once you articulate the idea.
Talking to the governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, let us talk property taxes. When the primaries were going on and there were a multiplicity of people running for governor, I sat down with everybody for about an hour in the Urban One studios there at 40 Monument Circle. And we discussed a whole range of issues. And to a person, property taxes came up. Property taxes were an issue. Property taxes were too high. You put forth a plan after winning and being inaugurated. And what we see now, something that you are saying in social media that you will sign, is not what was put out there in the ether. Why should Hoosiers be okay with this new adopted SB 1 that was just passed in the early morning hours today?
Excellent question, because when you run on something like that and you put a bogey out there in terms of what you'd like to do, I've been 9 years a legislator and know how that works. 3 years in the State House, 6 out in D.C., you're going to start in a place to hopefully end up where you're getting everything you'd want, but knowing that you got to go through the process of legislation. And obviously, there were voices out there, one of your own and Rob Kendall, that made it a big deal. I've aligned with it because I heard it over 1 or 2 years, but that was something that still disappointed me because they said SB 1 and then had my bill template in it, and then immediately started listening to vested interests in terms of public local governments and school boards, and put it into a shell of what it was. So we were starting from scratch.
Do you feel that those school boards, those local interests were wrong?
What's that?
Do you feel those school boards, those local interests, talking about we can't handle these cuts, we don't deserve these cuts, we'll have to raise taxes, do you think they were wrong?
I do, because I think they were through a period where they were able to take the federal largesse, weave it in, some of them on a habitual basis rather than a one-off. And when you look at how much state government grew, along with some local jurisdictions, not all, about a third of them were responsible. They'll have less to get used to now that we're back in not growing the government more than the economy grows, which I've always said should be the measurement. So I think they took their lobbyists, they stoked up fears that you weren't going to be able to do the basics of education and local government services, and erred on that side. And that is why I think SB 1 got gutted, because there weren't enough people showing up at their local meetings, the school board meetings, and city councils and county councils and commissioners. Now going forward with what we've gained here, that's where the focus needs to be in terms of complaining if you're fed up with what your locals are doing. We can't do a state government fix to take care of a local issue. This is a great start, though.
Allow me. You say it's a great start. Now we can do this. You referred to these local officials and mayors, et cetera, as they. You referred to SB 1 just now as being gutted. And then you have said you're going to sign this. The question
Not
is
gutted,
why?
No, gutted when it came out of the gate, Tony. We've added back a lot once it left the Senate and went to the House. There's no way that bill in its form was going to be acceptable to anyone. We added the House getting involved into it, and Jeff Thompson took a lot of heat for some of the minutia and detail in it. And if you look at every aspect of it, it does things gradually over time that creates more transparency, more deductions, more things that take us into a place that it's going to be better. But no, and we took that and increased the credit that you can apply to your 26 bill from, it was 0 coming out of the Senate. It was 7.5% coming out of the House. We got it up to 10 and raised the cap from 2 to 300, and then put all the other stuff in it that's going to make it better year after year. And then if we want to do more, like eliminating it to some extent, I agree 100% that once you get it to a certain age and you paid off your mortgage, why should you be paying a property tax bill that's like a second mortgage?
Is that in this legislation? Is that in what just passed in the early morning hours, sir?
It isn't. Those are the things that we need to aspire to once we bank this. And the
Can
fact
you explain to us, sir? And I appreciate you allowing me to interrupt you here and push back. Talking to the governor of Indiana, Mike Braun. Why didn't the Senate think that eliminating property taxes for seniors or people who've already paid off their mortgage, why didn't they think that was important enough right now to do?
Because we won by 2 votes to spare, Tony. That's how close it was. And they were listening.
That's my next question.
They were listening all along too much to their local governments and school boards and the lobbyists representing them. And it was a hell of an effort to get it to where the House had it. And in those last few days, had the House not moved it up to a 10% credit for everyone and these other things that we've woven into it, that is where I probably wouldn't have been for the final product. But we got a lot over the finish line in the last 2 to 3 days, which was basically late last week. That's how long it took to get from where they hollowed it out to where the House took it up into where we got a product that is a foundation to build upon at the start of what we do with property taxes and taxes in general.
I think the issue there, sir, is that if this had been approached as we need a foundational start and something to build on, I think that argument would really work for people. But this started as we have to fix this thing. And this is all I'm hearing on the campaign trail. And what the people see is a half measure. And so there certainly is a contingent. And that contingent does indeed have voice, and they exist in all 92 counties. If it's not what you were talking about, if it's not what's needed, why not veto the thing? Call the special session. Let's go.
Well, because in a state like Indiana, your veto means nothing other than symbolic, and there's no guarantee that you get anything out of it because you can override it with a simple majority, and a special session can be gavelled in and out. This just passed by 2 votes,
your words. Why are you sure they would override you, sir?
No, because when you win by just 2 votes, how do you think that would work if you actually vetoed it? So you can make that point. I respect it. All I can tell you is that going forward, we're looking for other things we can do. And if we want to get more through the grassroots for people that want more, show up at your local school board meetings and local government meetings, or otherwise you'd run into the same dynamic that I ran into with the Senate listening too much to that. That's why they took SB 1 in its original form and then hollowed it out, and then we got it back to where it's acceptable as a building block. And I will sign it based upon that, but it's the start of it, not the end.
So you will be signing it. That's definitely happening.
I will be signing it, yes.
Governor Mike Braun, I appreciate taking the time to be with us. We went a little bit over time. I appreciate you sticking around. We will talk again, sir. Enjoy Secretary Kennedy later today. An abridged traffic map error. I apologize